Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed an honor to be here amidst you all. I think it's a privilege to be amongst such illustrious people, some of them sitting right in the front row and many others, I'm sure, illustrious people in the making. I'll request Padma Shri Dr. Balavi Balachandran, Mr. Ramkumar Shankar, Mr. Professor Sriram, Mr. Badri Sheshadri, and Ramakrishnan to please occupy the chairs and dais. And like it's along with all good things, we'll start the evening with a prayer song by Priyanka. May we all rise to the occasion. Thank you, Priyanka. I request my colleague Poonam to honor the guests on the dais, starting with Dr. Balavi Balachandran. Mr. Ramkumar Shankar, Professor Sriram, Mr. Badri Sheshadri, and Mr. Ramakrishnan. Thank you. Friends, life teaches us many things, every day, every time, and our actions and reactions are expressions of our experiences. A large number of us do things which are tested and safe because we believe a known devil is always better than the unknown. But there are some who take the path differently. Their grit, their determination, their sense of pride in pursuing their passion, their ability to think beyond, think out of the box, and their ability to take risks, and above all, their ability to spot the right kind of people around them makes them different and makes them what they are. We often hear, if you don't get to do what you love, then start loving what you do. I actually envy the gentlemen seated this side because they have proved that one can have the cake and eat it too. They chased their passions, they went through the rough and tough, I'm sure, yet emerged as an example for many others to emulate. By doing so, they have not only made a difference to themselves, but also to many others. They straddle multiple horses, they wear many hats, and today they are all here for a book launch which is authored by none other than my senior colleague, Mr. Ramakrishnan, Ramki to many of us. Listening to them today, while they share a few thoughts specific to the occasion, will sure be interesting, but I think a much longer session with each one of them speaking on their experiences, their journey, the way they went about doing what they did, will be a great learning for all of us. I'm sure we hope to get an opportunity for such an occasion very soon. At colleges, we get to learn a lot of principles, theories, and what have you. While these are important, the real life experience is quite different. If you go to a bookshop, you'll find theoretical books, fictions, philosophy, spiritual, and last but not the least, today you have enough and more self-help books. While each of these will have some message or the other, to me, most of these are not very realistic. And that brings us to the reason why we are all here today. The launch of the book, I Need Growth, authored by Ramakrishnan and published by New Horizon Media. I have had the opportunity to go through the book. It's an interesting, very interesting anecdotal book elucidating the pertinence of balancing life. Through the right skills, right relations, right balance of professional and personal lives. Without further ado, I would request Padma Shri Dr. Balavi Balachandran to formally launch the book, I Need Growth, and I will request Mr. Ramkumar Shankar to receive the first copy. Thank you. To introduce this gentleman, it's a little odd actually, especially in this room. I'm sure it's a lot of place, but I'm not going to lose this opportunity to say a few words. He is known for his outstanding contribution in literature and education, amongst the very few, and most certainly the only one whose efforts have placed Indian academics on the world map. After achieving so much, and between flying to Chicago and being in India, he still manages to find time to teach and interact with students. He is known to be in a hurry always. He believes that India needs tremendous amounts of entrepreneurial leadership and technopreneurship. He talks about wealth creation rather than wealth conversion. He is an advocate of experiential learning, highly respected by the Indian academicians and the who's who of the Indian industry. Perhaps the only hope for India to get back the glory of the Nalanda era. I request Dr. Bala to share a few thoughts on this occasion. Incidentally, Dr. Bala has written the foreword for this book.
Vagathaviva samprukto Vagatha pradipattaye Jagadam pitarau vande Parvati parameshwarau Vande Parvati parameshwarau. Good afternoon, friends. It is a great thing to start a day when about 70% of the school are still looking for a job, given that we have about 220 have already been. And somebody, when I just came into this hall, uncle, 12 more people have been placed in Axis Bank. Nothing more is required. Congratulations, friends. Keep going what you are doing. You are the greatest. Not only I say, every wall of this says and every wall of India says that. Thank you very, very much. I am also slightly concerned that two of our beloved students, my nephews, unfortunately got into an accident yesterday night. But I am also glad to tell you, given that has happened, which is God's creation, but man's creation is even better than that, because those people who are really serious and who are unconscious are brought to stable condition. And I pray on behalf of all of you, that's why I gave this second prayer. I pray to my Lords, my Ganesh, to give them the confidence, the success, and hope to have all the recovery at the fastest and the easiest way. And we will pray on behalf of them. Now I am here for a different reason. There are a very few people who can be the embodiment of what I call it as professional entrepreneurialism. They are professionals, they are entrepreneurs. There are sometimes some part is more important and some part is less important. But in this case of Ramki, also known as Ramakrishnan, has both of them in a fantastically balanced way, making sure the academic elegance of a professional is definitely met with the balance of the practical relevance of an entrepreneur. As a matter of fact, if you really look at it, the name itself, in the Hindu tradition, there are two well-known gods whom we all generally worship, who have stories, Ramayana and Mahabharata. In Ramayana, the hero is obviously Ram. But what he did, doing all kinds of things, just because some dad created some bad vows or something like that, and so he paying penance and doing all kinds of stuff, taking his wife and others to all over the place. And that is a God, it is very difficult to emulate. I always ask, suppose I want to have a role model from this, do I want to be a Rama? Definitely no. But let us talk about Krishna. This guy is fantastic, mischievous, right from his childhood, steal things, cheat on the exams, no, sort of, and plays with the other part of the world. And not one or two, many. They are called the Gopika Streets. He was doing all kinds of stuff, taking the clothes from those who are taking a bath. And you know, all these things when I see, I remember my childhood days. And also see some of you here. And this is one God whom I can very easily emulate. You know, now, if I want to choose one of them to be my role model, I would like to have a Krishna. But this man, Ramki, has his name sort of the two together. Now I was wondering, what is this Rama? Why Krishna has his Rama? There is none other than Ramakrishnan, right? So therefore, all right. So therefore, maybe that is why he has done this so-called professional entrepreneurism. You know, entrepreneurism is Krishna, professionalism of course Rama. All right. But anyway, I am so pleased that he is having this book, and I also cherish the opportunity to write the foreword of this book. I am so pleased to also hear, besides all of you students and my beloved nephews and nieces, I am also pleased to have his family, his colleagues, his professional colleagues, friends, all of them here, including the press and the media. I am so pleased to see his parents. I know some of you do not know Tamil, but I will tell you two simple words and I will tell you what it is. ஈன்ற பொழுதில் பெரிதுவக்கும் தன் மகனை சான்றோன் எனக் கேட்ட தாய். That is, I will tell you what it is. A mother, even though she has given birth to a child, boy or a girl, she gets the intense and immense happiness only when she knows that her son or her daughter has become a Sandrom, that means a learned man, an author, somebody who tells people and shows some guidance and advice. And on behalf of the entire class, let me first thank the mother of Ramki, Mrs. Vishal. Please stand up for her. I am also pleased that his father is also here. Again, coming back from Tirukural, there is another word for that is essentially Mahan Tandai ki Atman Udavi, even Tandai Ennotrantal Enuswa. The thing that a son or a daughter can do a help to a dad is whose child is this guy and why he is so good. So he gets the pleasure and also the fame because of the son. We are also lucky to have Ramki's father here, Mr. Subramaniam, who happens to come from my very close village, Mr. Subramaniam. Let's give a big thank you. And of course, he is talking about 4 stages in the yin. One is learning. Of course, he learned from Vivekananda College, commerce degree. He became a chartered accountant. And of course, he grows into an adult and also a professional. He has been with many companies like IBM, Bharti Airtel, and Billy Moria, Aisha Group, Sriram Group, etc., etc. But once you grow, then you mature. That is when you think of marriage. Marriage and mature are the same young. And we have with us his wife, his children, a daughter and a son, and his mother-in-law and father-in-law. So let us again request all the family, including the children, to stand up and get our appreciation for having Now, I really know that this friend of mine is a very well-known author, and also now manages and runs a segment of MAR Group, and the chairman of the MAR Group obviously is one of our directors. I wish G.R.K. Reddy was here today, but unfortunately he's coming a little late, I believe. But anyway, he has created a fantastic company in terms of this Swarna Bhumi and all kinds of activities, of business activities, and he is in charge of all the personal and other non-commercial properties. Now, he changed the word properties in a clever way and called the company as Proper Ties. Now, I thought he would be wearing a tie, and that's why I am wearing a tie. And this is the proper tie, of course. But he must have some proper ties. And as a matter of fact, he is really creating this company. And as a matter of fact, there are some very beautiful properties he is able to do. And as a matter of fact, our neighborhood, though it is surrounded by a lot of villages, we are going to have a sprawling new city in the Swarnabhumi, about 20 kilometers from here, where many universities like Virginia Tech, Michigan State University, Illinois Institute of Technology for the moment, and a few other institutions are going to come here. And as a matter of fact, this whole corridor of East Coast Road will be bubbling with tremendous amount of young, energetic, enthusiastic, dynamic students from all levels, and I am positive that he will facilitate their accommodation and things of that nature. I am so pleased for this particular book, and I am also pleased to write this forward. The reason why I am so pleased is the following. It is, in these days, the competition is extremely intense. The whole world is having a tremendous amount of difficulties. And as a matter of fact, since 2008, it is very clear that the business education as promulgated by about 3 or 4 universities like University of Chicago, Northwestern University, Harvard, and first one is University of Pennsylvania in the year 1906. The other 3 schools came at 1908, and they created the entire idea of a business school rather than a M.Com or a B.Com or a BBA or something like that. The MBA idea got created in the United States somewhere around 1906 to 1908. And it is very clear, somewhere around 1985-88 on, the ideas, the fundamental tenets were questioned. And one of the questions is, what is the most important thing? Is it profitability or profiteer? Is it incentives and motivation or greed? All kinds of this thing happened, and unfortunately, people chose the wrong side, and the combination of that collapse and the moral bankruptcy of this particular type of a business education happened in the year 2008 in the United States. Since then, there are some important fundamental business educators have really looked at this thing, and the business education is at crossroads. And therefore, rethinking the business curriculum itself has been up. And one such thing that we are trying to do is in India, as a matter of fact, given that it is happening, who is going to come up with the next business school model, which is appropriate for the times and will change any test of times, and probably some of these profiteering and greed and other kinds of things will be questioned and will not happen, and ethically confident, morally responsible kind of a new organization and new business schools will come. And I am positive it is not going to come from the United States. It is going to come from this part of the world, Asia. There are only 2 better choices. One is China, another is India. China with their communism, I am positive that's not going to happen. So the only choice by process of elimination has to be India. And this particular book, in my opinion, is an attempt of what can be a morally responsible, socially accountable, slightly spiritually inclined, and a thing that can create value to everybody. And that cannot be a macroeconomics, it can be a microeconomics. It cannot be a macro institution, but can be a micro institution. And that is where I comes. That is where a person comes. And that is why ING comes. I need growth is nothing but the present continuous tense in the English literature and in grammar. So what is he talking about is how do you learn on learning, and therefore growing, maturing, and of course contributing to the society, contributing to this. You learn what for to earn, and you earn what for to live, and you live what for to give. And that is why we are talking about, let us create and cultivate all the abilities, but with humility. Let us have all the passion to excel and exceed with integrity, and that's why with compassion. Let us always have the mobility so that the world is a small village and we are able to go anywhere. And that is why you want to have mobility, but with the nobility, and at the same time you want to have transparency of what you do, but with integrity. With these words, I sincerely and hopefully recommend this book, because I do not want to tell you what is inside, just like nobody tells you the end of a particular movie. Same thing, so I would like you to read this, and as a token of our appreciation and his work, I am pleased to purchase all copies necessary for every student that is here, and I will give a copy of this to you as my copy. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr. Mala. What comes to our mind when we think of PVC resins, chlorochemicals, piping systems, and the like? I can think of smoke, pungent odor, unions, labor, and so on. If you can now think of a person who heads such a business, I'm sure we can conjure up images. And here's the difference. Despite heading the 40-plus-year-old flagship company, Chemplast Sanmar, of the Chennai headquarters Sanmar Group, this gentleman is an avid quizzer. Those of us who are familiar with the Hindu business line annual quiz competition will remember that almost all times he walks away with the honors. And wait a minute, He was also the All India #2 in the CA exams. Ladies and gentlemen, I request Ramkumar Shankar, Executive Director of Chem Class Anwar, who has been associated with Ramki for quite some time, to share his thoughts.
Dr. Bala Balachandran is always a very tough act to follow. And there are two things I'm not even going to try. One is quoting from Tirukkural, primarily because I don't know any of the couplets. And secondly, singing, definitely not. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and it is definitely a great pleasure to be here in the midst of all this young, youthful energy. It's been quite a long time since I was a student. We do learn all the time, all through our lives, so I guess you are a student in that sense of the word. But as a student in the traditional sense, it's been a long time since I was a student. But one thing that I learned, or I remember from those student days, is that I never used to like very long speeches. So I will promise you that I will not take up too much of your time. This is particularly a joyous occasion for me, primarily because of the fact that both on an organizational level as well as a personal level, I have quite a few connections with Glenn. On an organizational level, the Sanmar Group has been associated with Glenn right from, in fact, I think its formative years. Our chairman, Mr. Shankar, has been associated with Glenn. Our deputy chairman, Mr. Vijay Shankar, is a student of Dr. Bala Balachandran, but then which industrialist in India today is it? So most people are students of Dr. Bala Balachandran. And a lot of my colleagues have come here to Glenn to take up the executive management program. And on a personal level, as probably the introduction went, I have personally taken part in at least 3 or 4 of your own corporate quizzes at Glenn, though not in this campus. And this is a fantastic campus, which I think befits and one of the hot and happening B schools of India. So I think all credit to Dr. Balachandran for having had a vision to put this in place. And as many of you will pass through the portals of this wonderful institution over the next few months and many more batches over the next very many years, and embark on your own long journey into your career, into your management career, I'm sure that as night follows day, the one thing that will definitely happen is that there will be moments in your career when you will come across situations which kind of confound you, which befuddle you, when you hope that you had somebody who could tell you what to do. There will be times when you feel that situations are getting the better of you and you are not particularly in control. And there definitely will be times when you will make mistakes. And that's good, because mistakes are the way one learns. But I think what, as the cliche goes, the intelligent person is one who learns from his or her own mistakes. The wise person is one who learns from other people's mistakes. But the enlightened person, who, after learning from mistakes, either one's own or from others, has the vision to share it with the rest of the world, share the learning with the rest of the world. And one such enlightened person is my very good friend, Ramki. Now, I know Ramki for the past 25 years, which probably makes me from the Jurassic age, compared to the rest of you here. Both of us were doing CA together back in the 1980s, and I met him then. And when you hear the word accountant, CA, or the traditional finance professional, the immediate typecasting is that this is a person who will be more comfortable with numbers, I almost said figures, but numbers than with words. Here is a person who is more comfortable with financial statements rather than people. But Ramki breaks all those molds. He breaks all those typecasts. Because right from the time I knew him, he's a person who's been very passionate about learning. For him, learning is something that happens as a matter of great interest. And sharing that learning is an even greater passion for him. And when you read the book, you will understand that this is one chartered accountant for whom words come as easily as numbers do. And this is a book which is a handbook for practicing managers. This is not a tome which you dip into to learn academic concepts or to take exams. Thank God for that. And that's why this is much thinner than the normal books. Because anything that you need to do to get some marks in your exams is usually as fat as, well, you can fill that up. But basically, this book is a practicing manager's handbook, a ready referencer as it were, which anybody can get into at any point in time, and you'll find something that tells you what you have to do. It is not prescriptive in that sense, it is more descriptive, it's narrative, and it takes you through the situation till you realize, yes, haven't I been through this myself? When I went through this book, in fact, I had the opportunity to read it at the manuscript stage. And there were so many places where I felt that these were situations that I could relate to myself personally. And I only wish that I'd had this book when I started off on my career some 23 years back, because it would have helped me avoid a lot of those embarrassing bumps that I've been through in these 23 years of my management life. But I'm sure that for each one of you, as you start on your own careers, you will find this book a very, very useful companion, something that you should keep with you all the time, because it kind of helps you through those difficult moments in your official life. Ramakrishnan is somebody this is his second book, and he's always interested, it's a passion, writing is a passion for him. And I think that this is not going to be his last book. This is going to be one of very many books that he's going to write. And it's indeed a great privilege for me to have received the first copy of this book. And I'm sure that I'm going to keep it with me. And this is going to contribute a lot to my own professional development in the balanced time that I have. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. It's a great privilege to share this occasion with Dr. Balachandran and with all of you. And Ramki, all the very best for the future. Thank you.
This gentleman again needs little or no introduction in this room. In fact, today when everybody talks about competitiveness of the Indian industries and Indian companies, it's a little noteworthy to know that long ago, many years ago, the international competitiveness of the Indian industry as a research assignment by the SHM was assigned to this gentleman. The report was then presented to the then Prime Minister, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, which led to a task force being set up under the then Commerce Minister, Mr. Chidambaram. For 20 years of consulting for companies like Mafatlal's, Bajaj, IDBI, Marico, and so on, it's been an integral part of such a wonderful institution. I will request Professor Sriram to share a few words.
Before we start, a small correction. Subbu has been kind enough to attribute the entire credit of the international competitiveness of Indian industries to me. As a matter of fact, I was part of the team. I was one member of the 5-member team who worked on the project. I was not actually supposed to be here. Those of you who had seen the original card, you would have found that my name doesn't figure in that, and I was for once very happy that I'm going to be in one function here where I'm going to be relaxed. I'm going to sit on your side, and I don't have to really worry about logistics, I don't have to worry about the time, I don't have to worry about what I'm going to speak. But it so happened that about 45 minutes before, Ramki came and gave me this bad news, saying that Rajiv Rajgopal, CEO South for Airtel, for some reason could not be here today. It so happens that Rajiv was my student at SPJ, and I was looking forward to meeting him. After almost now 10 years I will be meeting him, and I wasn't even sure whether he knows the same Sriram, who is a great lake. So I want to surprise him today, and I was looking forward to meeting Rajiv. And unfortunately, since Rajiv dropped out, Ramki requested that whether I can fill in. And Ramki being a great friend, I said yes immediately. And I promised him that it's going to be very short. As a matter of fact, I never had an opportunity to read this book. Ramki gave me the book when he met me about half an hour back, I just quickly browsed through and I found it to be quite interestingly written. It's written like a story, episodes, trying to drive some managerial lessons. And what is interesting as his friend, fellow chartered accountant, he shared with you this whole question about talking in chartered accountant and writing a book. This reminded me of a famous joke. Those of us who have been to Harvard or MIT or Boston, you know that Harvard is on one side of the Boston River, the MIT is on the other side. So here is this joke that there is a supermarket on the MIT side, and as you have it, there is a counter separately in the supermarket which says anybody with less than 5 items can check in through this counter. And here is this professor standing with his cart filled up to the ceiling and trying to check out through the counter. So this girl who sits in the counter looks at him and asks him, "Do you see this board?" So the professor is not responding. She says, "Are you from this side of the river who can't read?" That's the MIT side. On the other side, who can't count? The joke is that the MIT is more rigorous, numbers, engineering. And Harvard is considered very soft, leadership, strategy, management. So it's really interesting that a chartered accountant, whom we generally call as bean counter, who is not supposed to be good with writing and communication, has come up with a book based on his own insights about what he has seen in his life, how his whole career was built. And it's not an easy task. I do know that Ramki is an extremely busy executive, and he has been throughout. I've known him for almost now, I don't know how many years. First time I met you at Airtel in Delhi. It's very tough. And to have putting your thoughts together, even in your mind, you don't find time, but give it a shape in terms of a book is really, really very tough. I'm sure that those of you who are going to get a copy today will enjoy reading this book and benefit from this. And I think this is the second book, right, Ramki? So I wish many, many more books from Ramki and many, many more people benefiting from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Sriram. If you want to become an entrepreneur, hate academics. Must be sounding scandalous and blasphemous. These are not my words. In fact, this is how this gentleman started when he was addressing a packed auditorium in IIT Madras as a part of the RTBI's entrepreneur meet recently. Success is not well defined if you take the passion route. But a few people acquire larger than life image if they follow the passion. This gentleman was enrolled for a PhD at Cornell University. I don't know if it is what category, according to Professor Sriram, belongs to. But when he was enrolled for a PhD at Cornell University, he did not find it exciting enough. And so, Crick Info happened. And this was his claim to fame. A comprehensive cricket platform to follow matches, view commentaries online, and a statistics repository. He is one of those rare entrepreneurs who did not let his academics and lack of business knowledge come in the way of building something out of passion. He moved on, sold Crick Info to ESPN, and then he started something called New Horizon Media, emerging as a top Tamil publisher in the country. Today, they are no longer restricted to Tamil, and he has to his credit a recent book on superstar Rajnikant titled Rajni's Punch Tantra, which has superstar's punch dialogues and its relevance to business and life. Today we have Badri Seshadri from New Horizon Media, who has published Ramki's book. I'll request him to address us.
Dear friends, as a publisher of this book, I'm not supposed to say much about myself. The hero of the day is Ramakrishnan. It's very nice to be here in a wonderful institution. This is the first time I'm visiting here. The whole place looks like a great university in US. The ambience is fantastic. I'm sure all of you really enjoy studying here, and hopefully come out with a great degree and a wonderful job. From what Dr. Balachandran was talking about, I think almost all of you have landed a great job. So congratulations to all of you. Now coming to this book, Ramki's I Need Growth. It's a book which I think more than those coming out of college, the people who are already in the jobs will find very interesting. It's not that it is not going to be of great interest to you. It is certainly going to be of interest to you. You have already got the copy in your hands, or almost just outside, so you'll be getting it. I found that some of the sections in the book, particularly those relating to how to deal with your junior boss, that was one of the sections that I looked at, which is very interesting. It happens to a lot of you. You join a company and you find that your boss, because you are changing jobs and the other person perhaps has stayed in the same company, you find that your superior is actually, but in terms of experience, lesser than you in some sense. How do you deal with such a situation? There are several other situations that Ramki talks about in the book, which will be of great help to practicing executives, professionals. There are sections in the book, he versus she, which I think will be very interesting when you read the book tomorrow. Hopefully, you can finish reading the book in just about 45 minutes within one of your regular class periods. You should be able to finish the book, and you'll be immensely rewarded with the wisdom that's there in the book. The idea of actually launching this book in a business school is very exciting, because when I really looked at the target customer for this book, I didn't really, I should be honest in saying that I was thinking the potential customers for this book was going to be out there working in various companies, and Ramki has actually opened my eyes that I should be seriously looking at the few hundred business schools that are out here in this country, and I can now gladly go and tell them that this book, every student in Great Lakes Institute of Management has a copy of this book, and therefore you must buy this book. It's a great endorsement, really. I'm sure you agree that selling a book depends a lot on very interesting marketing techniques. It's not about it's not enough if you write a good book. A whole lot of people will never get to know about this existence of this great book. That's why if you really look at this book, we have a wonderful foreword from your uncle. Then you have snippets all over the place from key chief executives, one of whom spoke here, who happens to be a friend of Ramki over the last 25 years. And he's still putting up with Ramki, so their friendship must be really strong. These snippets, we hope, will entice readers when it's there in Landmark and Odyssey and Oxford and various other bookstores. Somebody picking up the book then says, hey, there's a foreword from Dr. Bala. Then let's just quickly go through the pages. And once they have picked up the book, our job is done. Because once you pick up the book and go to the 4th page or 10th page and you read 2 lines, that's good enough. Now added to that, I should say the next edition of the book, that this book was launched in Great Lakes, and all the students that particular year have gotten a copy of this book. So I can tell you that this is going to be certainly there in the next edition of the book. And hopefully we should be selling few tens of thousands of copies of this book in the next few months. And this book will turn out to be one of, like the previous book that Subbu mentioned, the Panch Tantra book. It's a book which, if you get a copy of it, you will really enjoy. It's a book that we launched last month and has sold nearly 8,000 copies so far, about a month. Likewise, we really expect this book also to be one of our super sellers, and this is a great auspicious occasion and the right place to launch a book like this. So, thanks a lot for giving us the place to launch the book and to introduce this book to exciting set of youngsters who are going to be the tomorrow's corporate India. So, thank you all.
Thank you, Balri. Ramakrishnan, that brings us to the hero of the event. I've been fortunate to know him for the last 28 plus months. In fact, he was the third person I met after Mr. Reddy, chairman of MARG and the HR head, when I joined MARG. He's a person who has actually a ready-made solution for most of the theoretical issues. In fact, if there is a theory class and if you have Ramki next to you, you'll simplify it so much. You just put 4 squares or 4 quadrants or x-axis and y-axis and you have a solution. Approaching the issue, dissecting it and getting the optimal way forward is an uncanny ability which Ramki has. In spite of being a finance professional, as has been said, he heads sales for the real estate vertical of MARG. And I would say what actually differentiates him from any other professional is his people management skill. I did play the role of a bouncing board at times when he was in the manuscript stage, and I'm very happy to have read the book before many others. I would request Ramki to come and share how and why of ING and what next. Thank you.
Direction and the quality of your life largely depend on the kind of people that you meet. To me, there are 2 sets of people. People who created you, people who continue to recreate you. I'm very blessed to have my parents here. They have instilled the right values in me. I'm equally blessed to have my second parents, my wife's parents, who have been a great strength to me in the last 2 decades of my married life. There are 3 sets of people who have made a big difference to my life. I would like to recollect them on this very significant day of my life. The first person, and all these 3 people I met in 10 years gap. It proved to be a very great blessing. The first person I met was in the year 1989. He was a chartered accountant, gold medalist. He was a director of finance of a large group. But he always wanted to run a business. And more than the intelligence that I picked up from him and his turnaround stories, one quality that I picked up from him, which still gets imbibed into my DNA, is his ability to accept mistakes in public. That has transformed me more than all the intellectual that I picked up from him. He is none other than the president of Bharti Airtel and now the founder trustee of Bharti Foundation, Mr. Badri Agarwal. He could not be here as he was traveling abroad, but I know his blessings are always with me. 10 years later, 1998, I met this person. There used to be a time when in the presence of his speech, I used to get energized. And from that point, his physical presence used to energize me. And today, mere feeling of his presence energizes me. My Guru T.T. Rangarajan, the founder of Alma Mater. If I could say I found the purpose of my life through him, it would be an understatement. His ability to expand me beyond my own comprehension, my own imagination, is what has brought me this far. I know I have miles to go. He could not be here again as he is in a spiritual retreat, but I know I can feel his presence all through myself. 10 years later, 2007, I met this person. He's a visionary. He's always 5 years ahead of time. He sees tomorrow today. If my first person, the personality of my life, Badri Agarwal, brought the potential in me, and my Guru T.T. Rangarajan brought the person behind the professional, Mr. G.R.K. Reddy gave me the platform to experientially implement this potential in my current role. Last 3 years I've been with Mark. Most of the knowledge that I have shared in this book, the wisdom that has unfolded, is because of the experiences that I have gained in the last 3 years. He could not be here, he is in Delhi now, he is coming late, but I know his blessings are always with me. The turning points of my life, people say it's a bend. It was not a bend, it was a very important bend in my life. Coming to this book, I always wanted to do, I came to writing by accident. I was never an author. 10 years before, there was a technical paper to be submitted, and the title of the technical paper was Purposeless Birth to Purposeful Death. Somewhere it ignited me, somewhere there was an invitation to write. I was working in Hyundai those days, and I used to come home very late, and one fine day I started writing. I didn't stop. Whole night I wrote. It continued for 3-4 days, and when the technical paper won an award, I was overwhelmed. That was a big turning point in my life. I felt that something in me is there which I should continue to pursue to make a difference to people. When I wrote my first book also was written, the title of the book was You Can Become a Complete Manager. That book I wrote when I was bedridden for 3 months. I had a spinal cord infection. I said, how do I put this pain behind me? Then I started writing. In about 6 months' time I finished the book. I didn't have an opportunity like this to launch that book, but it was a cleansing experience for me, writing the first book, You Can Become a Complete Manager. In fact, in the top sheet of that book, I finished saying, forget past, think present, and dream future. But as I kept evolving in my professional life, this book, when I was writing how ING came, I felt that it's not about forgetting the past, it's accepting the past. It's not about thinking the present, it's changing in the present. It's not about dreaming about your future, it's aligning to your future. And there's a coincidence between this book launch here and the title I Need Growth. I was taking classes for Great Lakes in the old campus. Last session I wanted to leave some punch dialogue for the students to remember it. And I had just explained in the previous class about the 4 phases that a professional goes through. He goes through learning phase, he then grows, then he matures, then he contributes. But what could be a professional who wants continuous growth? And very casually I mentioned to myself, it's not about we learn and we grow and mature and we contribute. It's all about we continuously learning and growing. We are maturing, we are contributing. So the connecting word was ING. In the language of a professional who wants continuous growth is present continuous. It's ING means I need growth. That's how the title came. The whole book, the first book I wrote, more as my personal experience, what I learned. But the title I wanted to give was I paid the price. You don't have to. But I felt that more than writing from my side, if I could reflect the professionals, the budding professional students, it will be very apt. So I picked up 6 characters, key people with whom I have worked and to whom I have worked. And I have plotted them in the whole sequence of 18 chapters. And it runs through the entire professional life cycle. When you get into a job, how do you accept your boss? How do you work? When you work with a junior boss, how do you work? And the life cycle goes on and on. But one thing which was very, very important was no point in thinking that the world to change. The change is from you. So I said, even in that context, accepting plus changing will be able to aligning to the future. So the entire book was written as a 4 quadrant. Entire life cycle itself goes through 4 quadrants. There's a learning phase, there's a growing phase, there's a maturing phase, and a contribution phase. And if you apply that in your personal life also, when you get married, you are very excited, but you may not be aligned to your spouse. The next phase is a very exciting phase. You are continue to have excitement, you also align to your spouse. Fantastic. Third phase is a very dicey phase. Somehow you are aligned, but you no longer have the excitement in married life. And the fourth phase is a very dicey phase. No excitement and no alignment. And the way you put these things, and it runs parallel to your professional life. Professional life, when you get into a job, you are very effective. You are not effective, but you are motivated, because the organization has chosen you. The next phase is very good, effective, but you are motivated. The best phase for a professional to be in. The third phase is very dicey, very indifferent stage. You are somehow effective, you know the people, you know the processes, but no longer you are motivated. Very dicey phase. Fourth phase is you are neither motivated, you are not effective. But the third phase gives you a very frustrating moments in your life. But frustration to me is a very positive signal. It tells your mind that you are capable of doing better than what you are currently doing. So frustration, if you take it in the right sense, you'll be able to unlock your true potential. So it goes on like this. I don't want to unlock all the mantras that are there in the book. But the whole point is, it's not about you expecting others to change. When you say accepting the person as it is, changing your perception of that person will help you to aligning to the new personality that he is. So the only way to have a very peaceful life, you must have pace of growth, you must have peace of growth. The only letter that differentiates between this is E. That E talks about your emotional maturity. Talent will take you up to a point. It's only your temperament that will retain you there. So I have learned all these things are part of my own experiences, but I have defined myself in this book as a guy who is aggressive. This word will not be in any dictionary. I said I am very aggressive by nature, but I also want to be very graceful with people. So I coined it. I will be aggressive as far as leading my thinking is concerned, and I will be graceful in leading others' thinking. If I could define myself, I will take it as aggressive person. So there are many things, but the key point is, if you have a fire in your belly, if you find your passion, keep moving on in your passion. Don't let anything to stop you. And don't let frustration is one of the best signals to get. And you will get frustrated in your professional life. It will not be easy. You will have all kinds of turbulences will come. In fact, one of the key things if you have to master is ability to manage people. Because if you get your relationship right, you will get your life right. You will be very happy in your life because the person matter to you the most must be having a good relationship with you. Otherwise your life will not be okay. So get your relationship right is the key thing. And aligning to the person, aligning to the personality will give you a very peaceful life. Before I end, I want to end with a very small story. There was a young boy who was picking up the starfishes. He was just walking on the beach. He was throwing it back to the sea before the sun could come, so that the starfish can have their life. So he was just doing one by one. The old man was walking. He said, "Hey little boy, what are you doing there?" He said, "Can't you see? I am just picking up the starfishes and throwing it back to the water so that before the sunrise comes, they'll get their life back." He said, "Millions of fishes are there. Do you think you can make a difference to everything?" The boy smiled. He bent down and picked up another small fish, threw it, but I did make a difference to this fish. My entire book is a humble attempt to make a difference to professionals, to make a difference to budding professionals. I know I cannot reach out to everybody, but writing can help me to reach out to many people. And with all humility, I have the presence of Professor Bala here, Mr. Sriram, my good friend Ramkumar here. Just to define these two people, Ramkumar was a whiz kid, was a quiz kid. And he has been my great friend for the last 25 years. Thank you, Ramkumar, for making it here. Professor Bala, the statement that can define him is, you put days into your life, you age. You put life into your days, you grow. He is an example of that. Enormous energy, enormous high energy person. And Mr. Badri, very interesting statement I saw when I went to the publishing house. It said, "Sky is our limit." But currently we are in second floor. Very, very profound statement. Very profound statement. And he said something. Normally personality development books are written by people who have become very famous. And he also added, maybe you become famous through this book, then you will write another book, he said. Thank you very much for Badri being here. Professor Sriram, I know him for 7-8 years. He's been a great friend and very nice to have accepted a very short notice he could speak. Thank you, Professor Sriram. And I want to thank a few people who have been instrumental in this book. Pratima, I don't know if she is around, she is the secretary to Bala. She has, while the original foreword was written by him, the fine tuning was done by her. Pratima, thanks a lot. Subhash, who has made this event possible, of a great taste. Thank you, Subhash. 3 people from Mark, Atul, who could not be here, who has arranged all the press conferences, and Senthil, who has done the administration part of it. Of course, my friend Subbu, who always makes every event eventful. Thank you, Subbu. And these three people, Vaidehi of Horizon Media, and Meera Srikanth, who edited the book, and Kruba Shankar. Kruba Shankar, he just put the entire website of myself in last 3 days' time, and already 3 or 4 books were sold on online. So thanks, Kruba, for setting up the website at a very short notice. My old friend Krishnan has come from Australia here, and my entire team is here. My secretary Mahalakshmi was been very kind to arrange the whole arrangements. My family friends are here. And before I finish, this person, if I don't mention about this person, it will be really a disgrace. She is not only a partner of my life, she partners in the passion of my life, the wonder woman of my life. By sharing my passion to make a difference to people, she has made the biggest difference to my life. My wife, Usha. Thank you one and all. And it's a very, very significant start. It's a new inning that I'm going to begin post this launch of this book. And I'm extremely happy that I could do it in the same place where I started my classes also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. That is wonderful. Just a small token of gratitude. Ramki would like to give a small memento to the members present there.
You are here, Ramki will be here, and the books are here, it will come. You can get it autographed by him, all right? I have to go because we have a guest from Kennesaw State University, and I am supposed to be there at 6 o'clock at Fisherman's Cove. Already I am late. So I will be leaving, but Ramki and others will be here, me and Sriram will be. So you can stay here, collect it, and then leave, all right? And definitely do not forget tomorrow's conference. Please do come, and it is probably maybe the last conference before we graduate. Thank you very much.